everyone, today we are talking about some principles to get a better sound. This is Gilles for Real Sound Reviews. This principle will help you build a better sound. They are not tricks or recipes, but principles that you can apply as some sort of philosophy of sound on many topics. First, protect your ears. At the end of the day, your ears are all what you have, and they will eventually define the kind of musician and sound engineer you are and you will become. Tinnitus acouphenias are one of the worst things that can happen to someone who put music at the core of his life. Believe me, I know this because I had the experience of such crisis, and this is absolutely horrible, and there is no way back when you start to lose some definition in some frequency range, most of the time linked to a sound trauma. Sound trauma are to be avoided, and only a good protection during gigs can help you, especially if you enjoy high energy amplified music and concerts. This can be rock and roll or electronic music as well. Sound is a chain that needs to be consistent. What do I mean? Indeed, there are these moments where you want to upgrade. There is this fantastic microphone that many of your friends have been talking about, or you have seen it used inside a studio session when you were recording. It can be a game changer, but is it going to be enough? Will you benefit from this change? If you buy a Neumann U87 and you preamplify it with a crappy preamp, it seems pointless and will hardly sound good. Every step of your sound chain has to be consistent. Keep in mind also, the more a sound gear is good, the more it will catch flows and defects of your environmental sound when you are doing a take. It raises the question on how your acoustic is, what is the state of a room you are recording in, and do you have the right monitoring system to hear the problems that will arise after this upgrade. I've seen people, for example, recording a drum with a SM58 for the kick and two SM57 as overhead, and it worked. Reason was the sound take was focusing on the essential and was ignoring the defects because it was not precise enough. Sounds paradoxical, but lo-fi has its good sides. Same thing can be said about a guitar and its components. For example, you are thinking about changing the pickups of your guitar, which is absolutely legitimate, but it seems pointless if you have crappy electronics. These new pickups deserve something better. Is the bridge on this guitar good enough also? These are good questions to address. One can answer to me, but Gilles, at the end of the day, people are listening on very crappy headphones. And in a sense you are right, and this is what the mastering is all about, but I think that we are on the side of making quality, and we have to ensure that the best is given to the audience, otherwise we are making garbage, I guess. Third, garbage in, garbage out. This rule is true for every data analysis or any information treated of any kind. This is the result of thermodynamic principles. At the end of the day, you will see that there is no magic trick or plugin that run on a NASA supercomputer which make the sound awesome. Recording process cannot be replaced to provide a good sound quality. When you are recording, you record something. You record an instrument and a musician. Of course, some plugs will be useful, but with experience you will manage to hear that you hear more the plugins than the sound itself, the effect more than the result in many cases. This is why we search the transparency of the process, whether the effect is hardware or software. Some in the comments will say, but I use isotope or other plugs to clean. Do I mean that you should renounce to repair your sound? Of course not. We all have been to this point where we try to repair or improve a sound we recorded. It's a normal step. My point is that back in the days, sound engineers from the old school used to call parametrical EQs correctors. It means that they had no other choices and they had to focus on the sound take as a guarantee of quality and just use the EQ to correct minor defects. Correcting is a part of the game, there is a place for it, but it cannot be all about this. Initial quality can be the key, which leads us to our next principle. 4. Prefer quality to quantity. We have seen more and more people claiming that they need a bigger computer, more powerful, because they want to record on 100 tracks or 200 tracks. That is absolutely pointless. And I feel that this is one of the things that is going to be the most controversial in this video. I don't deny that DAW are great to organize folders and to keep setting saves, to make very powerful editing session. But here I am speaking about 100 tracks at the same time in a summing process. Keep in mind that at the end of the day your mix is going to be made of 2 tracks, left and right, simply crossing and summing through interpolation in the stereo space. DAW are practical and essential, but multiplying the tracks is something that creates very confused mixes with trend choices that lead to nowhere or to things that are quite unstable, because the more you sum up tracks, the more you increase the probability of having defects that you will correct in the summing up process. How sound engineers have been doing in the past with only 4 tracks or 16. Tape quality was better than many of digital soundboard of the 80s, for example. Not to mystify, but to simply acknowledge that they had to take the best out of it. Regarding quality, because they simply didn't have the choice. And my advice is this: before double or triple a sound take, why can you just not consider of making it better in its own right? Since I had apogee converters and microphone pointing at the right spot, I didn't feel that I needed to do more, and I could focus my energy on what you really enjoy when you are mixing, aesthetic and artistic intentions. Is it not what we aim for? Don't think sound production is in itself more important than music. Music deserves a good sound and good technicians, not the contrary. The less you EQ and treat the sound, it means you are in the right direction and you upgraded your skills and gears. 5. Sound is differential, hence you need a reference. To acknowledge and take the best out of these previous tips, here we are coming to what I consider to be a key spot. You need a reference. A reference is something that is going to be a fixed spot, a constant that enables you to understand how sound and intention shift. Let's say, for example, there is this pair of headphones or speakers you have for a long time. Whatever their quality is, the thing is you know them by heart, and they will enable you to recognize how something sounds, how something can be different from what you get used to. Your personal psychological knowledge of this setup is as much as interesting as an objective measurement process. It will help you compare, but useful references are not only gears. There are also these tracks of your favorite artist you know by heart. They will help you to see what is more relevant for you and what suits you the best when you upgrade your monitors, and you will change your technical reference. When you hear a guitar sound or a vocal sound take, you will be able to have an opinion about it, based on other recordings you heard, because your perception, your memory retained a certain type of sounds. You will have this sort of internal library that will enable you to make comparisons. This is why one of the best key spots for a musician or a sound engineer is to have a solid culture and musical background to diversify this element. This background will help you build critical tools. You cannot listen to everything indeed, but this leads us to the next advice. You cannot be good at everything. Some people might be, but I'm not sure about this. I mean, do you really know a sound engineer that could have been able to record reggae, pop, classical and metal and being very good in every style? There is a reason for this. The kind of music you record, your skill depend on the background of culture, of taste and some habits and technique. You cannot be Lee Scratch Perry and Logan Mather at the same time, even if both have something in common. What I mean is, you can diversify the way you will record different types of music, different types of sound, but there is a moment where you have to focus on your own style and you will be good at something. If you want to be good at everything, my opinion is you will be some kind of music producer where everything sounds flat with a huge expense of energy. If you want to be everywhere, you are going to be nowhere. And this is the worst that can happen to some artistic process and to a sound engineer in particular. Of course, you can find a sound engineer that will be nice and want to adapt to you in your small town because you don't know somebody else, because you don't want to make 400 kilometers to have the guy, the studio that will suit to your music. Some people will try to make a step into your direction and you have to adapt also to them. But if you want to do things on your own, think about this. Try to use the right type of recording for the right kind of music you are making. So, I hope you find these advices useful. Please consider subscribing if you did not already. Of course, there are some other advices that could be useful for what we are trying to do on this channel. Huge thanks for watching and I hope to see you in this channel very soon.